There's a related question. What kind of benefit do we get from teachers, from people in authority? So, with that, I used to look at all these factions, whether it was the Essenes or the Pharisees, Sadducees, Zealots, different other groups that were around. Galileans also were a faction. And I used to I think there's a lot of weird stuff going on here, but the more I look at it, starting with the study on the Essenes and moving on to studying the other religious groups, there are things we benefit from people from who take the different roles that these groups had. And yes, we need to be aware um, not to just blindly take everything that people say. We need to study ourselves and be convicted in our own conscience, even if they make mistakes. But at the same time, we benefit from these people, okay? And all of these types of people have an influence and benefit to us, whether they're extreme conservative, such as the Essenes, or whether they're on the more like the Pharisees or the Sadducees or the Zealots, or just the common everyday people like the Galileans were. There's a lot of polarization in the world with people in these different groups and then trying to say that there's something wrong with them and reject them. And I think that that's an error. There are things to watch, certainly, in the history that we've studied show us we need to be aware of many things with this, but there are also things to benefit from and to not just automatically reject. So that's another application. As we're applying this study on the events leading up to the siege and destruction of Jerusalem, I listed 5 applications, and I'm going to go through the rest of those applications with you now. Number 6 is sorting out literal. Are we going to apply the study of history or the study of prophecy in a literal way, or are we going to, and if so, how far? We could be extreme in literal. An extreme could be someone who's hiding away somewhere in an isolated location with a lot of supplies and ways to protect themselves, and that's not really the focus of this study, okay? But that's something we need to sort out. How do we apply this? Are we going to apply it literally? Literally could mean day for a year in Bible prophecy, could mean any number of things, okay? So then the next one is, are we going to apply it, number 7, spiritually, figuratively? Some people are doing that. Studies that are very deep, very thorough, applying the numbers, applying the meanings to a number of different things in the Bible and in events. It's beyond the scope of this study to present that information, but it is on the timeline that I drew. So I'm going to make a very brief video after this that is just showing the timeline that we've been studying, and you will see some of the figurative application on there, but it's beyond the scope of this presentation for me to really present that or discuss that right now. And then the next one would be progressive. As we have studied these events, a whole progression of steps occurred in this history and also even before that history. Many of these events included what happened with the rejection of the ministry of Jesus on the part of the religious authorities, and what happened leading up to his crucifixion, the Romans took part in that, So there were a whole progression of events. But in terms of this history, when we study it, the application, they denied visual signs. They were not aware of the prophetic signs, and with that, we're not aware that of the signs that were literal at that time when Cestius was at two different walls at two different times, and what that meant. This was a whole progression of events. Listening to false prophets versus the visual signs they saw or other signs that they had. Listening to people with a peace and safety message. There are those who went to extremes in terms of how they thought they should benefit from the different factions that were involved, the different religious factions and leaders as well as authorities. So we need to sort out how to view that. Application of literal, spiritual, not understanding this progression. As I look at this involves understanding the role of multi-generational trauma and multi-generational mistakes, what has happened in the history of my family or the history of any group of people that I might be involved in with in terms of a church or spiritual teachings and that sort of thing. Really understanding that, not wanting to make the same mistakes, but and also wanting to apply this personally. And also, as we're applying things spiritually or literally or figuratively, however we may want to, terms we may want to put on it, there's a moral application to all of this. And that moral application is first to myself and how I apply it. And then secondarily, how do I live my life with others? So that's what I have for now. Thank you for listening to this study. And then remember that after this, there will be one more brief video. I won't even be speaking. It'll just be showing the chart, the timeline that I did, and for your study. And then also, I'll have a picture that can be sent and posted on the internet. Thank you.